Hi, how are ya? We're here. Change of background. I'm visiting at my parents'. But one of the things that I love is that we have cameras. We have tons of security around our property because we travel so much. So we invested, that was one thing we heavily invested in was when we bought a house, was security. So we had some guys who were fixing our front steps. And I got a notification that somebody was on my property. So I kind of creeped them out because I looked at the thing and it's also connected to our doorbell and all of that. And I looked at it and I'm like, hey, guy, I said, hi, Carlos. Oh, no, he was picking up like really every sound. So I'm like, hey, Carlos, don't break your back lifting that. He's like, what? Where's that sound coming from? And then they saw, the cameras and they started laughing. So it was cute. But anyway, that was a funny story that happened today. And kind of is fun to have a little fun with people every once in a while. But I'm in Brooklyn and visiting my family, and we had a family occasion, a little celebration going on today. So we're here, and I also have to get my car fixed because we're getting ready to return my lease, which mixed feelings about, like the car, but it wasn't what I needed. It served my purposes when we lived in Long Island, but when we lived out of town, it didn't. It stopped serving my purposes. And when I first bought it, when I first leased my car, I leased this car specifically, and I gave up my Honda Pilot, and I went to a smaller vehicle because I wanted to save $500. I wanted to save a few $100s. At the time, the leases had gone up, and I was paying 400, or I think like 450 for my Honda Pilot. And to get a new Honda Pilot, it was going to be really expensive. It was going to be like 600, I think, or something like that. And the Honda CR-V was only going to be like 450, the same price. So I was like, you know what? I wanted to save money. So I was like, I'm going to go with that. This is now 3 years later. I have built up my coaching practice. So I'm really excited. Like, that's not a factor in the decision right now. So that was really awesome. But what was a little for a minute was that, so I let the kids color all over my car. And when I say color, I kind of let them go to town. I bought these like washable car markers, okay? Don't trust them. Then I was like, okay, we need to clean this off. And my mistake, I should have taken it to the car wash, but I used kitchen sponges to clean it. And my entire car got scratched. We're talking the entire thing. And to repaint it is going to cost me a few. We have family in the business, and I was like, I'm happy to support him. I'm really into supporting small businesses. I'm going to be dropping a line of t-shirts I'm really excited about in the next couple of weeks, and I'm using a smaller company, paying a couple more dollars per shirt, but it's worth it to me because I'm supporting a small business and a woman that has become a friend. So it's win-win. So, but on that, I had to take an Uber back from the auto mechanic place to my parents' house. And hence the purple background. If anybody on here knows my parents, that's the purple wall. And I got into a fascinating conversation with the Uber driver. Yes, I'm an extrovert. No, I'm not an introvert, and I will talk to anyone. And I was like, hey, and generally speaking, I'm a pretty friendly, easy to talk to kind of person. And so we got into this conversation because I was saying how I grew up here, and we live about an hour and a half north of the city, about an hour and a half away from here. And I'm like, it's awesome. I live on an acre of property. It's really beautiful. It's obviously more affordable than buying a house in the city. My house in this city, especially with an acre of property, would be worth a few million. Even forget the acreage, just the size of my house is worth like almost 2 million here in the city, if not more, actually, just because of the sheer size of it. But I didn't have to pay that, and I get to live in a beautiful acre, and I have a pool, and like that's for us one of the reasons we left is we wanted that kind of life. But we got into talking about how like Brooklyn is different than what it was growing up. See, when I was growing up, if you walked out the street late at night, you could be raped. That's the city I grew up in. And you had to be afraid of gangs, and you had to be afraid of being shot, and you had to be afraid. When I left Brooklyn 6 years ago, we were doing really well. And unfortunately, he was sharing with me, and it was really sad that in the past year, my city has gone down. And it kind of does make me sad because I love Brooklyn. I will always have a soft spot for Brooklyn. This is my home growing up. Do I want to raise my kid here? No, I really don't. I applaud anybody that tries or raises their kids here, but I don't. But we got into a discussion of what freedom is because we were talking about just different things that came up about the city and living here and just the lifestyle and mentality, especially like different generational things. And it was a fascinating conversation in 15 minutes. But one of the things we were talking about was freedom. And what does freedom really mean? And what does it mean to actually be free? And so I was telling him that my husband and I run a few businesses. And he was like, well, that's freedom. And I was thinking about it, right? Because some days you wake up and you're going, oh, I'm a little overwhelmed, especially right now. Like things are getting really big and really awesome, and I'm loving it, and it's exciting, and so many amazing things are happening in my business. My blog is launching, and my t-shirts are dropping, and things are just happening, and I'm helping others grow their businesses, which I love. So it gets scary, but the reality is he was right. That's where the true freedom lies. The true freedom doesn't lie necessarily in, when we got married. And this is where that true freedom was. Like it's amazing what you will talk to complete strangers about, but here we were at. And what was amazing when we got married, so Asaf had saved up a few $1,000s, and he bought me a beautiful necklace that I wear every day as an engagement gift. And he got me these beautiful silver candlesticks because I light candles. I'm Jewish, and we light candles every Friday night for the Shabbat. And so those were his gifts to me. Plus, we had to put down first loss and security on our apartment. And we ended up buying some of the used furniture, like the couches and stuff and the table and stuff from the guy that lived in the apartment. And, thankfully we got some wedding gifts. I came in, I had just finished paying off debt. I have a crazy story I will share one day, how I got screwed over by a non-for-profit and landed up with almost $10,000 in debt. But and this is before I was 23, but I'm 23 and I got 23 and a half when I got married, and I was able to pay all of it off. So I was happy to not come into the marriage with debt, but we didn't really either of us come in with any money. We got generous wedding gifts, which was really special from all of our families and friends and things like that. And we put all that money away. At the time, Asaf was starting to build his real estate business, and I was teaching preschool. I love teaching preschool. There's definitely things that I miss about teaching. The paycheck is not one of them. The paycheck sucked for the amount of work that you do. I work half the amount of time, a quarter of the amount of time that I used to work as a teacher, and I make a bigger salary than that. And I won't go back to that. Occasionally I'll get called in to sub or help my friends with whatever it is. I'm happy to, but I just couldn't equate that anymore. So kudos to anybody who's watching this that is a teacher. I have a lot of respect for the fact that you guys don't get paid for the amount of work that you do. Anyway, so I was making, after taxes, $1,800 a month. Our rent was $1,100 a month. We had our cell phone bill. We had a food bill. I think I was still under my parents' insurance, possibly because I was 23, and I think you have till you're 25 or 26 in New York, but I don't remember. And, oh no, we weren't. I don't know if we had insurance the first year we were married. I think we got it after that. And we lived off our wedding money. It was, we used to go out a lot and like whatever, but like we lived within our means, but we did live off our wedding money. We did travel a little bit and stuff like that. And then I remember what ended up happening is that so it's right after we got married, Asaf left the brokerage that he was with in the city and started his own brokerage. So we started like right after we got married, he started his own brokerage. And I was teaching in preschool. So it was stressful. Okay, I'm coming home with $1,800 a month, and that is paying our salaries, and that is paying. And then I took a local teaching job the following year, and it was for a high school, so you get paid to teach by a certain amount of classes. And 2 weeks before the school year started, originally one of the teachers was going to retire in 2 weeks, and she had already given me all of her notes. And she had already given me all of her binders and all the everything. I was going to be teaching Jewish history. 2 weeks before school year started, she decided that she didn't want to retire yet. And so we're making $1,800 a month, newly married couple. The staff is like renting an apartment here, an apartment there. It's not consistent. If I could tell you how scary and stressful that is, some of you on here might already know. And the school that I was working for the second year, because I didn't want to commute, so being married, whatever, so I stayed in a local school. They were behind on paying their teachers. In the month of November, I went to the school and I said, you guys are 2 months behind, 3 months. Sorry, I think they were like 7 paychecks behind already. And I'm like, I can't pay my rent this month. And it was, if I could tell you how scary that is, that was scary. So to go from not being able to pay our rent to being okay with $4,000 worth of damage on my car is a huge leap. And so which one of those is freedom? I read a comment in a Facebook group that I'm on where this mom was like, I can't afford to do a side hustle because if I do a side hustle, it's going to change our tax bracket. And then we're going to get kicked off our insurance, and we're going to get kicked off whatever. So first of all, talk to your accountant, because when you are self-employed, you actually make more money than when you work for somebody else, because the way that taxes work are differently. We write off part of our house, we write off our cars, we write off our cell phones. But I'm not a tax accountant, so I'm not going to give you tips on how to work that system. My suggestion is, if you're scared to do a side hustle because you're scared of that, then talk to an accountant. But with the fact that I can work for 2 hours a day and make more money than I made as a teacher and have time to run 3 separate businesses, we're adding a 4th. To do that because I work for myself, which one's freer? Which one's more freeing? We're going to Mexico. We've been to Italy. We travel, not during COVID times, but we travel a ton. Which one of that is freedom? Which one of that is freeing? Which one of that is going to give you more in life? We're raising our daughter in a way that neither of us were raised. My mother just redid her kitchen after being married for 30-something years because my dad was a teacher. She's a stay-at-home mom. And they sent kids to private school because that was something important to them. What if you could afford to do both? What if that was in your equation? Which one is more freeing? Which one is going to lead you to a life that is true freedom? And as always, I'm here, and if you'd like to explore coaching with me, I'm happy. And the reality is, if you want to just shoot me any questions in general, I'm happy to help. I help people build health coaching practices, but we've also built a real estate business. And currently, right now, I'm helping 3 people build businesses. You tell me which one's more freeing, and I'm here to help you. Have an amazing weekend.